Larry Caputo's incendiary remarks. Theresa is on the brink of collapse. Larry Caputo, the former spouse of Long Island medium star Theresa Caputo, made severe and unexpected statements on his ex-wife in a recent interview. Larry remarked, I believe Theresa has embarked on a detrimental course. She wed a man for her own gratification, whom I find repugnant. However, unexpectedly, she departed from him within a few days. Why, then, did she marry if she lacked the intention to establish a family? He stated, Theresa has consistently prioritized her own needs. However, in doing so, she has caused harm to numerous individuals, herself included. These remarks have elicited varied responses from Theresa's supporters, with some expressing empathy for Larry, while others believe he is unjustly confronting Theresa's private affairs in a public manner. While Theresa Caputo has yet to address the matter, it is evident that their previous connection is tinged with resentment. Years had elapsed since Theresa Caputo, the acclaimed Long Island medium, and her former spouse Larry Caputo parted ways. However, it appeared that time had scarcely alleviated the persistent rifts between them. In a shocking interview with New York Celebrity Weekly, Larry spoke candidly and without reservation. His statements resonated like a thunderclap on social media. Theresa is on the brink of collapse, Larry stated, his eyes ablaze with a combination of fury and anguish. She wed a man solely for her own gratification, an individual I consider repugnant. Subsequently, she departed from him within days. What is the purpose of marriage if one is not emotionally prepared to establish a genuine family? Larry's remarks reverberated across the Long Island medium fanbase. While some commended his candor, others criticized him for expressing personal grievances publicly. She consistently prioritizes her own needs, Larry continued. However, what individuals fail to recognize is the extent of the cost it has imposed on her, relationships, familial ties, and her own well-being. Theresa is bewildered in the very realm she professes to comprehend. The individual Theresa briefly wed, whose identity is unknown, was characterized by Larry as manipulative and toxic, a person who estranged her from her close associates. Theresa, recognized for her emotive spiritual readings and vivacious demeanor, has become progressively aloof in recent months. Her performances had adopted a more melancholy and melancholic tone. A longtime friend of Theresa, who wished to remain anonymous, informed reporters she entered that marriage believing it would provide her with something authentic and stabilizing. However, it was impulsive. Within a few days, she recognized that she had committed a significant error. She departed. However, emotionally, she never truly returned. Insiders report that Theresa has been discreetly engaged in healing, both spiritually and emotionally. She has canceled many engagements, reduced her social media presence, and is apparently consulting a therapist. Notwithstanding the media frenzy, Theresa has not yet issued a public statement regarding Larry's comments. Her team issued a brief statement. Theresa prioritizes her health and her family. She desires tranquility for Larry. Nevertheless, some in her inner circle indicate that Larry's public statements have profoundly affected her. Theresa possesses the ability to empathize with others' suffering, stated her cousin Lisa. However, when it pertains to her own matters, she becomes unresponsive. That constitutes the genuine tragedy. A convergence in the cosmos? Sources indicate that Theresa and Larry were recently observed at the same restaurant in Montauk, however they did not engage in conversation. Certain followers anticipate this may signify reconciliation or, at the very least, closure. This narrative transcends a mere broken marriage. It encapsulates the enduring connection between two souls bound by love, remorse, and unresolved matters. The Caputo narrative continues to enthrall millions, whether via the intervention of spirits or the machinations of fate that separated them. Nonetheless, on a sunny, golden afternoon in California, Larry Caputo meandered through the lively streets of Santa Monica. The zephyr conveyed the aroma of salt and sunlight, and while he resided hundreds of miles from Long Island, memories possessed an uncanny ability to pursue him. Particularly one recollection, or more accurately one individual, Theresa Caputo. Larry relocated to California to embark on a new phase, seeking self-discovery beyond the confines of celebrity and a once-fulfilling marriage. However, certain apparitions do not require a medium to torment you. They reside within your heart. That afternoon, he was in a nearby organic cafe consuming his black coffee when he glanced up and became immobilized. It was implausible. However, it was Theresa. She traversed the opposite side of the street, her distinctive platinum hair radiating in the sunlight, her presence unmistakable even from afar. She was not adorned in her customary heels and glamour. Rather, she donned sneakers and sunglasses, appearing nearly incognito, yet Larry recognized her as intimately as he knew the lines on his own palm. Larry rose and traversed the street impulsively. "Theresa," he called, uncertain whether she would perceive him amidst the cacophony of cars and ocean waves. She pivoted. Her eyes expanded in size. "Larry?" She spoke with a gentle, hesitant tone. "What is your purpose for being here?" "I could pose the same inquiry to you," Larry laughed, but his heart was pounding intensely. They remained stationary for a brief period, uncomfortable yet not irate. A considerable amount has transformed. A great deal remained unchanged. "I was in Los Angeles for a reading," Theresa elucidated. "However, I required a respite. Merely ambulating. Contemplation. They choose to relax on a nearby seat adjacent to the shore. Prohibition of cameras. No spectators." Two individuals who had constructed a life together were now experiencing a moment amidst the unforeseen. Larry gazed at her and ultimately remarked, "I occasionally contemplate you. I long for neither the cameras nor the chaos. I long for a connection, the authentic version of ourselves." Prior to all of this, Theresa acquiesced, her expression momentarily revealing a surge of emotion. "I communicate with spirits throughout the day, Larry. However, at times it is the living who disturb me more. I occasionally miss you as well. However, I was uncertain whether you ever contemplated my existence." "I consistently do," he acknowledged, "including California." They observed the sunset over the Pacific, sharing a silent comprehension. They were no longer the individuals who had fallen in love decades prior. They had evolved, transformed, inflicted pain upon one another, and mended in silence. At that moment, they were only Larry and Theresa, devoid of a reality program and any expectations. Prior to their separation, Larry addressed her, stating, "Should you return to California, please contact me. Perhaps we could converse, not as former partners, nor as television figures. Like two ancient spirits that previously lived a common existence." Theresa exhibited a smile. "I believe I would appreciate that." As she departed, Larry paused momentarily, observing her silhouette vanish into the throng. A fragment of the past reemerged briefly, not to resurrect old injuries, but to provide something uncommon and exquisite, closure. Perhaps a glimmer of novelty. Nonetheless, on a bright fall afternoon in Long Beach, New York, Theresa Caputo readied herself for another significant reading. However, there was an unmistakable distinction about this day. The breeze conveyed a sense of silence, and the atmosphere in the room was more oppressive than normal. James Walker, a 62-year-old Vietnam veteran, awaited patiently in the studio. A formidable man, hardened by conflict and the passage of time, James had never subscribed to the belief in mediums. However, an inner conviction urged him to embrace the opportunity. James lost his father, Samuel Walker, more than 30 years ago. Samuel was a veteran of World War II, having served in the Navy, and the connection between father and son was indomitable. Upon Samuel's abrupt demise due to a heart attack, James was deprived of the opportunity to bid farewell. He bore that quiet like a lasting scar thereafter. Upon Theresa's entrance into the room, her distinctive blonde hair and dynamic presence instantly infused the atmosphere with a sense of warmth. "Greetings, James," she remarked amiably. "I appreciate your presence and your service." James acknowledged, with a respectful nod. "I am uncertain about my beliefs," he said, "but I am open to listening." Theresa grinned with understanding. That is all I require. She shut her eyes, inhaling deeply, and then a change occurred. She grasped her chest and gazed directly at James. Did your father serve in the Navy? He's causing me to feel as though I am swaying on a vessel. He repeatedly asserts, that is my son. That is my hero now. James became immobile. Indeed, he was a mariner. He consistently referred to me as his boy. Theresa's tone became gentler. He is rendering a salute to you, James. He expresses that he never had the opportunity to convey his pride in the man you have become. You were quite little when he departed, yet he has accompanied you throughout your military trip. He observed your entrance into the woods and your subsequent return. James's eyes filled with tears, and his hands shook. He continually references a letter. Did you compose something for him that you ultimately did not dispatch? James concealed his mouth. I composed a letter to him from Vietnam. I intended to mail it upon my return home. However, by that time, he had departed. I did not disclose it to anyone. Theresa acquiesced. He is aware. He claims to read it whenever you recall it. He clings to your words. You expressed your fear to him, yet conveyed your desire to make him proud. James experienced a breakdown. Following years of silence, remorse, and repressed emotions, he wept, not from grief, but from the tranquility starting to envelop him. Theresa extended her hand towards him. He requests that I convey this to you. Son, I acknowledge your presence. I greet you. You returned home. You existed. That was all I ever want for you. At that moment, James experienced a sensation he had not encountered in years. His father's presence. A warmth on his shoulder, reminiscent of Samuel's proud and steady hand resting there. Thank you, James murmured, tears streaming unabated. I appreciate your return of him to me. Theresa smiled softly. He did not depart. He was merely anticipating your acknowledgement of him. The American flag on the front porch fluttered softly in the wind. Within, a soldier had at last received the words that mended his heart, a father's ultimate tribute from the beyond. Nonetheless, it was a tranquil Sunday afternoon in Massapequa, and the sky appeared remarkably serene, as if the heavens were pausing in anticipation. Theresa Caputo, the Long Island medium, had just completed a reading at her residence when a gentle knock resonated at the door. A woman in her late 50s stood there, her cheeks marked by tears and her hands quivering. Theresa, I understand you do not accept walk-ins, but I felt compelled to come, the woman stated. I am Ellen, and I lost my husband, Richard, 9 months ago. I feel adrift without him and am uncertain about my next steps. Theresa, perceiving a profound intensity, cautiously moved aside. Enter, dear. Let us discern what the spirit conveys. Ellen sat anxiously, grasping a locket at her neck. It included an image of her and Richard on their 25th anniversary. The room became suffused with a warm, tingling energy as Theresa shut her eyes. Her distinctive hand gesture extended toward the air as though seizing whispers. I sense a powerful male presence. Did he pass away unexpectedly? Heart-related? Theresa inquired. Ellen acquiesced. Her eyes widened. Indeed. A myocardial infarction. He was merely 62 years old. Theresa smiled gently. He asserts that he did not endure suffering and requests that you cease the incessant recollection of that day. He claims you were the most significant event in his life and observes you each night while you sleep alone. Tears cascaded down Ellen's face. Does he forgive me for my absence? I was at the grocery store when it occurred. Theresa inclined her head. He chuckled softly, stating, Darling, I acted swiftly, not due to your absence, but to spare you from witnessing it. He seeks to shield you, even at this moment. Suddenly, Theresa's voice became more resolute, as if conveying a direct message. He instructs, liquidate the lake house, Ellen. Ellen inhaled sharply. I have been retaining it, but I cannot sustain it. I considered that our grandchildren might desire it in the future. Theresa gazed directly into her eyes. He asserts that it is time to relinquish the past. He encourages you to explore, to embrace life, and to rediscover joy. He states, Do not allow your life to conclude with mine." The room fell silent once more, and Theresa gently rested her palm on Ellen's. "He wishes to convey his pride in you. When the wind caresses your cheek as you stroll by the ancient maple tree, you will recognize it as his presence." Ellen wept, this time from relief, as an unrecognized burden began to dissipate. It was the first occasion in months that she exhibited a genuine smile. Later that evening, Theresa sat solitary on her porch, sipping tea among the stars. As a soft breeze caressed her, she murmured, "Thank you, Richard, for cherishing her to such an extent." Occasionally, even death cannot extinguish love. Through the gift of spirit, a widow discovered a means to revive her existence, directed by the voice of the man who had never genuinely departed. Nonetheless, in a surprising moment that astonished even her closest acquaintances and admirers, Theresa Caputo, the acclaimed Long Island medium, took an unforeseen decision. She purchased her own gravestone. The events commenced on a tranquil fall morning in Hicksville, Long Island. Theresa visited the cemetery where numerous family members were interred. It was a location where she consistently experienced tranquility, a hallowed zone where the boundary between this realm and the next appeared tenuous. While standing quietly beside her parents' graves, she sensed a presence, not of the deceased, but of lucidity. "I have assisted thousands in establishing connections with their deceased loved ones," she further stated in an interview. "However, there will come a day when someone attempts to establish a connection with me. I aim to facilitate that for them." During that week, she entered a local memorial store and conversed with the proprietor, Joe Mancini, who had been acquainted with the Caputo family for decades. Upon Theresa's explanation of her desires, he gazed at her with astonishment. "Are you contemplating the design of your own gravestone?" he inquired softly. Theresa smiled sweetly. "Joe, I converse with the deceased all day. Do you believe I am intimidated by a mere marble?" She meticulously selected the stone, a light pink granite adorned with subtle lavender swirls, hues that evoked tranquility and the hereafter. She demanded a diminutive angel engraved in one corner, grasping a feather. At the forefront, her complete name, Theresa Bridget Caputo, accompanied with the principles she adhered to. Affection is eternal. It merely alters its form. However, she did not cease her actions there. Theresa also had the reverse of the stone inscribed, not with dates or a mournful message, but with a note addressed to any future visitor. It stated, "If you are reading this, I remain attentive. Engage in conversation with me. I will respond, as I consistently have." The narrative garnered significant media attention. Supporters had strong emotions. A multitude perceived it as unsettling. Some deemed it macabre. However, the majority perceived it as Theresa's last expression of affection, bestowing tranquility upon those she would abandon, akin to the solace she had shown to numerous mourning individuals during her existence. When inquired about her decision at this moment, Theresa succinctly stated, "This is not about death. It pertains to readying oneself for future events with poise, wit, and affection, as I have consistently done." In characteristic Theresa style, she even jested, "I instructed my children not to place artificial flowers here. I shall pursue you relentlessly." Theresa observed from afar as the gravestone was discreetly placed in her family's burial site one morning. She refrained from weeping. She experienced no dread. She experienced tranquility. It was her method of venerating life and embracing eternity. Greetings, esteemed viewers. Welcome to my channel. I am Mina, and I hope your day is going splendidly. If you like the video, please remember to subscribe to the channel.